And what I want to do is, my mission seems to be that we want to take North Carolina and move us up on the chart of other states to increase our exports, because you know what happens? For every $1 billion of exports is about 12,000 jobs. So just think about that. If we increased our exports by $5 billion, which is not an impossibility and not very difficult to do if we're all sort of focused in the same direction, that would be a tremendous amount of people and jobs in North Carolina. And so what I want to do today is, this is a sort of a compressed version of a little longer seminar that gets into some real nitty-gritty, and you actually are really self-evaluating where you stand in your business and where you want to go to grow your company's profitability and have sustainable, high-paying jobs. So before I just start, I just want to ask you quickly to introduce yourself so we know who's in the audience and where you are as far as in international. Marcy?
Thank you. Always love being the first one. I'm Marcy Diaz, and I'm actually a friend of Michael and John, and I'm really basically here to listen to this wonderful presentation. Not a business owner. I am between opportunities right now. Thank you.
Hi, Rita Sharp with Premier Staffing Solutions, and we provide people with employees. We also help other employers when they need somebody to come and work with their companies. And we work with several of the state ports companies that do exports, so I thought I would learn something. You don't have to.
Oh, you don't have to stand up.
I'm Phil Sharp. I am an architect who's trying to retire and pursue another passion of mine, which is photography and videography. I focus on commercial photography and help companies with their marketing and advertising.
I'm Eleanor Alderman, and I'm Mr. Alderman.
There you go.
So he pays all the bills.
Yes.
My name is Isaac Alden. I'm a pastor and retired from a Fortune 500 company. And I got in this business. The business I'm in now is independent marketing rep. I work for, I don't work, I'm a business owner for a company called Five Links Enterprise out of Rochester, New York. There's a privately held company that listed in Inc. 500 magazine for last 8 years. We help people make money and save money. We target people who are looking to better their life financially, and we can show them how to save money. We got a proven system like McDonald's that we ask people to follow. If you teach them being coachable and can follow the system, you can make money. We help business owners, and we help their product, help them in advertising through text marketing. And we have product and service home security for business and homes. We have a slew of product and service. We have wireless prepaid internet service. We in partnership with Dish and Direct TV for satellite TVs. We just have a bunch of service that we can save people money on. It's a home-based business, but we are global also, and I just come here to see how I can expand our business global. And we just got into the health industries, and we came out with a product in January, coffee that really tastes good. And I have some samples out there in the car that I can share with folks before we leave. You want one?
They just made another pot of coffee. You're a little late. But remember, keep that healthcare in mind, because we're going to come back to that. Terry.
Yes, I'm with Mutual of Omaha. I work in insurance and financial services, helping people protect three things: their livelihood, their assets, and their income. Looking to find ways to go global into another arena, which I'm trying to reach out to professional athletes and things of that sort right now, and do some managing partnerships.
Excellent.
Good afternoon, Catherine Roberts with the Blue Water Group. I'm actually out of Raleigh, but I'm here every weekend. We own a place at Carolina Beach. I've had my company 15 years. I've been doing this work for 25 years. I basically help companies make more money. I'm an business operations consultant. I go into small, medium, and large companies and help them improve their documentation, their business processes to hopefully put more money in the bottom line. My goal has always been to own a widget company. That is still my plan. Once I get and own a widget company, then my plan is to grow it globally. So this is an important topic for me to understand, especially with our port here, how to get the goods overseas and export.
Lady thinking right.
Well done. Ma'am?
I am Deborah Gilles, and I am the owner of Canal Comforts, which we opened last year. It is an internet company that prepares and delivers gift baskets and care packages to anybody and everything within, currently, the United States. I am also an international trade controls lawyer, and
Watch out, there's a lawyer in the house.
and so I actually have a lot of experience with on the export side, but obviously in a Fortune 500 company and not as a small business owner. I would love
We'll
to take my
change that
business,
today.
you know.
We'll change that today.
I'm Doug Carville, Director of the Small Business Center at Cape Creek Community College across the street. My goal, like John's, and I work with John a lot, is to try to increase the export awareness, export knowledge, and actual ability for small companies in our area to achieve that. So I'm here, I'm always looking to learn more, and John and I work together on a lot of events.
Excellent.
My name's Rob Mao, I'm president of Land Management Group. That's environmental services industry for the last 20-some years here in Wilmington. We started, like she said, making widgets, and we actually make a widget over in Nebraska. We have an industry making these little tide gauges and groundwater monitoring device, little electronic equipment. So we're trying to figure out how we can go outside. Yes,
Just wait till I tell you who I am. Michael?
I'm Michael Escalante, the other half of Hayes Escalante Group. There's half and here's half. We have
That's the better half there.
Yeah, better half. Well, I just speak Spanish. But we came together to help businesses grow globally. We identify the business that wants to go and grow globally. We identify the buyer overseas, somewhere globally. And then we bring down trade financing, 100% trade financing without recourse. So you'll be hearing a little bit. There's our logo right in the middle.
That's right. Bob.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Bob Potter. I retired a year ago and don't like it. And probably because I spent 45 years working in factories as an operations guy. And the last 12 I spent in China and Mexico. So I'm trying to find a way to get myself reintroduced back into the business climate and business culture to see if I can assist and help people learn more about Mexico and doing business in China.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And since you just walked in, you have to pay the bill.
Take plastic,
Who are you?
take a check.
You want to tell the group what your ambitions are here?
I'm Glenn Spears. I'm with Piedmont Advantage Credit Union. I'm relatively new to the chamber. Our business is relatively new to town, and I'm just trying to sort of learn what's going on around me. So that's why I'm here.
Excellent. Well, as Scott was mentioning, since Connie wasn't here to talk about what I am, and I'll answer your questions about tide gates as we go along. I've got an eclectic background. I have a PhD as in oceanography. I was the O in NOAA, if you're familiar with the O in oceanographic. So all the tides, currents, and environmental stuff came underneath me. I'm a businessman by heart, and really, I guess, affirmation of what I wanted to do. So through just some hard work, I started some international companies. I'm actually now involved in a couple of new startups. About my 8th or 9th company. And when I moved to Wilmington about 8 years ago, I recognized very quickly that North Carolina was kind of like stagnant in its growth global. You look at the numbers, and we'll go over some of those there, and you can see. You look at it as opportunity, an opportunity. And why do I think it's opportunity? Because I was fortunate when I was pulled out of NOAA, and I ran President Reagan's program on global trade called Export Now. So I was the person responsible for coordinating 23 federal agencies which touch trade. Private sector, it's a public-private partnership, organizations in the service industry, there are several people here, from international attorneys, accountants, transportation organizations, as well as trade associations, National Association of Manufacturers, and other organizations. In other words, a total inclusive program of how do we include everybody in a non-really competitive way, because you all got your own thing, to make the country more effective in global trade. That effort back in the 88, 89, 90 timeframe was highly successful. We reduced the trade deficit by 27%. It was like the largest drop in the last 30 years over a shorter period of time. And we had 500,000 small companies like ones here in this room going global, which means that they started looking at opportunities and started making more money. So when I came to North Carolina, I started to ask the government at the time in the previous administration about how I can help to assist. I wanted to create a Export Now, which was the name of that program, in North Carolina. How do we get everyone energized? Because we have the port, we have the airport, we have the infrastructure, we have a diversity of products and services that can be offered from North Carolina. How do we grow globally? And what has happened then to do that, I got engaged with the World Trade Association. So for about the last 16 months, I've been the president of the North Carolina World Trade Association here in Wilmington. And that organization was kind of like in a coma when I joined it. And that's not my words, it's Rick Kaplan's words. And what we tried to do was revitalize it to focus on exactly what I just said. How do we get alert these companies? Because the government alone, federal and state, is not enough to satisfy what you need to know about going global. They're part of the equation. The private sector is also a part of it. So everything I'm going to talk about is really a combination of using whatever resources are at your fingertips. And the organizations here are all private organizations. So yes, I was involved in the World Trade Association and continue to do so. This last year we had a lot of events. We've had the Secretary of Commerce down here, the advisor to the governor on jobs and the economy. I had the ambassadors from Oman, Malaysia, Brazil, all here. Why Oman and Malaysia? Because we're not trading with those countries. And they also want to invest in places. And they bring students to go to school. Do we have colleges and universities in North Carolina? Right? Do we?
Yes.
They bring 2,000 students from Oman, a little country in the Middle East. 2,000 students come to the United States every year. How many are in North Carolina? None. Because we don't know how to open our doors. We don't. So I set out to change that. They also, countries like Malaysia, they buy things like biotechnology. Are we involved in biotechnology? They buy aircraft parts. We're not aggressively looking as a state of where the real opportunities are, and we're discombobulated, if you would, in all of the organizations. We have over 24 organizations that are involved in trade. But do they talk to each other? No. So that brings you to the second organization. I guess it was last summer, I was contacted by Representative Rick Kaplan. But before he left the New Hanover County Commissioners, and now as a representative, he got passed that the county would support what's called a Foreign Trade Promotion Council. How do we promote in every aspect foreign trade? And the World Trade Association and the Foreign Trade partnered last fall for a conference. And it was a 2-day conference that included a lot of the organizations that are on this chart. This chart is already outdated, but what it shows you is what we're trying to accomplish. The Foreign Trade Council is not going to be the quarterback that really runs anything. We are a nonprofit organization, but what we're trying to do is include all of the organizations across North Carolina, public and private, that are doing something for their constituents and their members and so on, and pull them together. Because what you notice in this chart is that none of the circles connect. We're connecting to them, but we want to get them to connect with each other so that we can take advantage of opportunities and run with them. That means foreign investment, that means increase in exports, that means increasing a dialogue about what is necessary. Does anyone here know what a foreign trade zone is?
I think that's where you can bring goods in temporarily, duty-free.
Absolutely, absolutely. The largest and most successful and profitable foreign trade zone in the United States is just south of the border at the BMW plant. The ability to bring parts in from all over the world to make a BMW, if they had to pay duty on every little thing, and then the car, when it's sold, it would be so expensive that even BMW would have a hard time selling parts. So there's a thing called a foreign trade zone that allows you within the borders of that zone, under scrutiny and accounting purposes, every part comes in as value, and then you assemble it and then whatever you sell it. But it's extremely valuable in global trade, used very heavily in other parts of the world for goods being shipped. We've had one at the port for 30 years, not being used. We have one at the airport. The sewers, land was set aside for foreign trade zones. Sewers are there, power's there, everything's there, and I know that for a fact because Rick Catlin was the one, his engineering firm did that work. And it's not being utilized completely.
What is the reason? It hasn't been used for 30 years. You gonna touch on that later?
Just getting warmed up. I love people like Catherine, but don't be like my wife.
Gotcha.
I'm in the middle of a sentence here. I'm ready to roll. Why are the foreign trade zones not being utilized? Okay? Because we don't know how to do it. It's part of the overall inherent infrastructure and cultural issues, and you can put a million words in it, that North Carolina is almost there, but we're not ready for prime time. We have to be better communicating. The foreign trade zones as they are set up are not effectively designed. So, just 2 weeks ago I was with Representative Catlin, and we've been promised a modernization of the trade zones for 2 years by the previous government. And it had never happened. No paperwork had been filed with the U.S. Department of Commerce to reauthorize the zones as an alternative site framework. It's called ASF. What it is, to cut through the whole thing, is we're consolidating the old zones, which are fixed and rigid, to say, unless you were going to build a facility right there at that spot and manufacture at that spot, you're not in the zone. Now, the whole region, this entire region is designed, and it will be completed by the end of the year, as a alternative site facility. That means when a company is looking at Wilmington as an opportunity, I know the Chamber is very involved in this. How do we attract people? You heard all about the MSA, is that part of Brunswick County, is now part of Myrtle Beach, right? All these things are working against us. But when a company comes and says, we're looking to bring in a plant, say, doesn't matter, from Germany, and we manufacture some widgets, and we're looking for a site. We want to be a port. We want to be near an airport. We want a nice lifestyle environment. We want low taxes. We want a school for our kids and everything. All of these factors working together, we can say, well, where do you want to build that place? We can create a foreign trade zone around that facility. So it offers flexibility. It's a big, big deal. You'll hear more about it if you all come on the 31st, Monday. We're having at Cape Fear Community College an all-day event with the State Department of Commerce, and there'll be people from 6 or 7 foreign countries who will help you be able to zoom in and drill down about how you can sell in foreign countries. But the lady from the State Department of Transportation will be here to talk about these foreign trade zones. It's a big deal for us. And it's a thing like, build it, they will come? No. It's build them, and we have to market the heck out of it. We have to let people know that Wilmington is a place to do business. And it's a place to do business globally. We just have to pull those pieces together. So, a long introduction, then, so one thing led to another, and now I'm the first executive director of the Foreign Trade Promotion Council. I'm still president of the World Trade Association, and I started a company called Hayes Escalante because, and we'll go into that later on in the program briefly, about recognizing that how do you get paid is a big issue. You don't want to do business overseas without getting paid. But I'll tell you right off the bat, the data shows there is a better chance of getting paid with a foreign sale than a U.S. domestic sale. The numbers show people will stick it to you and not pay you in the next neighboring state. They'll say, sue me. But the people overseas, they wanted your products to begin with because they know that the American products have high quality and will sell in a foreign market.
And there's also that because you're using often letters of credit that
There's a lot of securities, and it involves a mechanism of everything, from banking to the service industry. So with that introduction, what I wanted to move forward, let me get this right here. Okay, selling global. How? How are you going to do it? Some of you are at various stages in this audience, from testing the waters to I'm already there and I know how to do it and how to expand it. I can't tell you how many companies have contacted me through the World Trade Association that are involved globally, and after an hour conversation, they go, geez, I didn't know that. That sounds so simple to do that. Because why? They want to increase their market share. There's a lot of ways, and as I say again, you can't get your answer from one source. But today, versus a couple years ago, I can say that we in the private sector are working more cooperatively with the state government and the federal government. In fact, we were able to get just, 2 weeks ago, the U.S. Department of Commerce. If you look at federal agencies that have offices in North Carolina, where? Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh. Charlotte, Greensboro. They ignore Wilmington. We have a satellite office here for the U.S. Department of Commerce as a couple weeks ago, and we made sure it happened at Cape Fear Community College, right not far from where we're standing, because we want to make sure people come and recognize the business community can be supported by the community college and what they're doing, as well as the federal government. So that's a big deal, and that individual who was in that office will be at that conference on the 31st. So how do you sell globally? Do you have a map? And that's a play on words. Do you know, in other words, you get in your car, now you push a button and you have GPS and you find out that you're going to be going from point A to point B, and it talks to you in that same voice that tells you, no, you made a wrong turn around and go back, whatever. Well, you can certainly turn around and go back, but do you have a map? Do you know what you're doing? And here's where the panic sets in. And believe me, this is from experience. When we ran this program during the 88-89 time frame, any companies that I meet today, there's still an intrepid fear. It's over there. It's out of my immediate reach. It's global. I don't speak the language, and all those fear factors start coming in. Well, the companies that are doing really well were the smart ones that had maybe some government business, had some private sector business, and also had an international business. Because if you really look at the world economy, when one part of the world's going down, the other parts are coming up, or still doing well, so that your diversification is like the stock market. If you have everything in real estate in 2009, you were in trouble. So the diversification also applies to your business techniques and strategies. So, do you have a map? Where are you going? What will you do when you get there? You don't just, the fear, the misconception is, I got to get on a plane and I got to go, if I'm going to sell, I've got to be able to sell in Europe. I don't speak Spanish, so I'm going to avoid Latin America totally. And I'm going to go to Europe. They speak English in some of the countries. Do you think these things are wild statements? This is actually what you hear from companies. It's not that way. And the world does believe in English as a primary business language, so there's really not a problem. But that's the least of your problems. It's who are you going to talk to when you get there? And I'm going to show you some very free ways to find who you should be speaking with and in your business. And then the highlighted one, how do you get paid? Well, the way to start off is to give you a test, right? You're in the class, right? So I'm going to give you a test. What do you know? And there's a story about this test, which I'm going to tell you once I pass it out. Here's the test. Here's a map. It's a map of what? Oh, thank God you got that one. I was worried, and that's part of the story. This is Latin America, and there's 20 numbers on 20 countries, right? And the names of all those countries are down below. Just put the number right over here next to the name. You know, if you can't do that, you know, pass those back if you would. And now you can't say I'm with him. You can't use that. You want to pass these back to those guys behind you?
So bad.
It's a pass-fail kind of thing.
This is serious, because you're going to have to pay the chamber a lot of money if you get this wrong. Is that it? You got it? Okay. One more. All right, start taking that test.
Maybe one more.
I'll give you about 3 seconds to take the test. About 3 seconds to take the test. You know what I said?
Yeah.
Because we're not going to spend the time to take this test. Because I can see the fear in your eyes. Let me tell you the story behind this test. I used this exact piece of paper when I was taught for 3 years at Georgetown University, School of Business, International Business class. These are the smart kids that go to Georgetown, and you know there's international service college there that train people to become diplomats and what have you around the world. These are smart kids, 30 kids in the classroom. Only about 20 were from the United States, at least 10 or so were from overseas. So there was a mix of people. And the first day of class I passed this out, reminding them, these are international business majors in the capstone course in international business at Georgetown. This is not like, underwater basket weaving classes. And I gave them this, and they were freaking out. And guess what the score was on this? About 10 to 15%. So then, a couple of weeks later, I gave them a similar map with Europe, which has more countries, And then I gave them Asia, and then Africa. And throughout, the scores were still in the 15, 20%, and they hadn't caught on yet. And I said to them, okay, eventually the semester ended, the final exam came. I didn't have anything on the final exam about this. But do you think they knew every country in the world by then?
Sure.
Darn tootin'. Why did I do that? I said, very simply, in a month you're all going to be working for companies. They hired a bright young kid from Georgetown. We sell widgets. Find out where in the world I can sell my widgets. Or I think it could sell in Cameroon. And they go, that's a cookie. No, that's a country. It's a joke. It's a joke. All right, good. I'm glad you laughed. Because they didn't laugh. They finally got it by the end of the semester. The point is that, like if there wasn't a war in the Middle East for the last decade plus, we probably would not have more than 5% of Americans be able to identify where Iraq or Afghanistan are. Right? And some of these, the reason I got this idea was many years ago I heard a story, true story, in Texas in a high school they gave a test about geography. And one of the questions was, what is the country south of Texas? And half of the kids got it wrong. Maybe they didn't know what the word country meant. Who knows? But the point is that, if you gave this test, just like you freeze for a moment, you can probably identify Brazil and Chile and Argentina and Venezuela. But, you get into, sure, you can misplace where Costa Rica or Honduras, El Salvador, little things like that. That's not the point. The point is, do you have your map? Do you know where you want to go and how you want to get there? So what we need to do is to focus on that. Let's look at how we come up with our roadmap and how we proceed beyond that. Here's one simple thing. I've got copies of this, and I've brought them for everybody to take home. And if there's more, don't worry about it. Just pass these out. Let me just keep one to show you. Well, I gave more, so we don't pass it to this table too. That table and this table. Take them and spread them out. There's a couple different months there, and take them all. I'm not taking them back, so if you don't take them, they're going in the garbage. Because pass them to a friend, somebody else. And I wanted to point out something. It's one of the oldest published magazines in the federal government, Department of Commerce. It used to be called Commercial News USA. So it was known as CMUSA, and that was their website. And That is the website. So if you just do Commercial News USA Export, you can find the website, and this is digitally online. But I wanted to show you the magazine so you have something in your hands to remember. Just pick it and go to the middle. You can see a bunch of ads, right? This magazine, electronically, when I say electronically, goes to 140,000 pre-qualified agents, distributors, and buyers around the world in 150 countries. So there's probably a couple 100,000 copies that are actually distributed electronically. And then paper copies are everywhere also. And what this is if you had $400, and you could put one of these ads in this magazine, and electronically, those pre-qualified, what I meant is our embassies have a senior commercial officer, senior person, in every embassy, whose sole job is to be sure to find buyers for American products and goods. So they pre-qualify people in different vertical SIC codes or industries, whatever they may be. So healthcare, you brought up. There's a guy who knows expertise about healthcare in every country in the world. So if you have your ad in here for $400, you're instantly marketing to the globe. And all of a sudden you get a bunch of emails coming back and people hitting your website. And they go, holy cow, I can't wait to talk to you about healthcare products. Can I be your agent distributor? All of a sudden you're like, whoa, how do I know? This guy is halfway around the world. Or all of a sudden I get a bunch of emails from Argentina. And I said, gee, I didn't know my products could sell in Argentina, but I don't speak Spanish. All those excuses start coming in. Okay? So then you realize you're in trouble. So what's your next step? You contact experts. I'm going to say that probably 1,000 times in this next hour. Contact the experts, the people who know what to do. You've got to find your team. You've got to build your team just like you wouldn't. What do you say to companies that don't have insurance?
Can't do business with you.
Right. What do you do with companies that don't have a bank? Yeah. So you need a team of experts, people, and not everybody's charging you incredible rates. There's ways to do things at less money and actually free. The federal government, this is one of the things that they do really well. Federal government has a network. And here is something I want you to all go and if you had $9, it's in about the 20th edition. See this book? Get it at Books A Million or any of them, they'll order for you. It's everything you wanted to know, all the paperwork, any details about exporting. This book, as I said, it was about 20. We got the first edition when we were doing the Export Now, to get people to have at least a publication. The internet didn't exist as you know it today in 1988. So a lot of things were in paper. But this is also electronically. But get this book because it has everything. It has forms, it shows, it has names and addresses for every state of who to contact for a lot of free sources. Free sources. So the federal government, you call up the Commerce Building on 14th Street in Washington, D.C., Constitution of 14, and you ask I'm in the healthcare business. I want a trade specialist. What area, sir? Healthcare. So Harry's on the phone. He's the healthcare expert, okay, the healthcare desk. And you tell him about what your product is. And I need your help. I've just received 30 people who sound like they're really qualified. I've been communicating emails with them from Argentina. And I need to know, how do I narrow this down to a realistic list that I can actually then test products by sending a few, shipments down there and see if you can sell it and come up with a price. Or a longer term relationship. And he'll say, well, here's what you do. I'll take those names and I'll send them to our guy in Argentina. And he probably knows most of them, and the ones he doesn't know, maybe you found some new companies that have just started, and he'll do all the research for you. And we'll get back to you. So they come back with a list of maybe 8. Now you're narrowing it down, right? And you start a dialogue of intensity with them. And he says, let me do this for you. It's called the Gold Key Service that Commerce does. And they'll say, when you're ready, sir, not now, you didn't hop on any plane, remember? You didn't just go jump. He says, when you're ready to come down to Buenos Aires, okay, you can come to the embassy. I'll have the appointment set up for you for those 8 people to come and meet you, and you interview them, talk to them, and you work with them. And maybe they'll invite you to their plant, to meet their people and facility, whatever. And then you'll have a better perspective of who could represent you. And then maybe when you come back to Wilmington, you can invite the 2 or 3 to come and visit you. And now, you see how smart it is? And what did that cost you? $400 plus that one trip down. But now you're looking at developing Latin America. Your distributors could be broadly throughout Latin America. They may be country specific like Argentina. But now you're already underway. So my question to you is, do you want to just like take a dart and throw it against the global map and say that's where I'm going to go? Or do you want to use your head and use one simple approach that is very inexpensive? This particular magazine is just not utilized enough, even by our state. I've never been in a group that I presented in North Carolina where everyone was super familiar with this, including a company locally who is exporting, has offices in about 6 countries, and they said, you know, I've been meaning to do this with Export USA, because instead of being in 6, you'd like to be in 60 countries. And if you can afford $400, you're in business. I mean, there's great stories that are lore, folklore, in the annals of the Department of Commerce, of companies that have done this, and it's just their business has exploded phenomenally. So there's a variety of things that particular magazine, whoops, utilize your resources. Here's some additional ones. And copies of this you can get. I'm sure that Scott, we could probably come up with some way to get these links that people want them to. I put a couple up there. Utilize your resources. USITA is the United States Department of Commerce International Trade Administration. So they are your taxpayer dollars going to those people that are all over the world that are servicing this country in our trade business. Within the International Trade Association, there's various other organizations. One's called the U.S. and Foreign Commercial Service. The Foreign Commercial Service people used to be part of the State Department. In 1970, they became part of the Department of Commerce. And they are at the embassy, they're a senior official with the ambassador at every embassy. Their job is to help you. You don't work for them, they work for you. So use them. Export.gov is like one site that'll just drown you in information. Spend some time, go through there, see what you've got. World Trade Association, we're here locally, that's our site. Come and talk to us, come to our conferences. Everybody here is going to be here up there on Monday, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. You got just in case you haven't signed up, sign up. And one thing that what?
Ask the question.
One thing that make sure you sign up. One thing that I wanted to stress right now. What are we doing here? We're at the Chamber of Commerce. You're lucky that you're a member of the Wilmington Chamber of Commerce, because what I did is I found out early on that Connie, the CEO, and Hal Kitchen, and now Ricky Godwin are the kind of people that you want running your organization. Because we recognized that what I was doing on the international side and what they were doing on the chamber side made a lot of sense of coming together. So now I'm attending board meetings for the chamber, and we're exchanging ideas, and we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Connie and the work that the chamber and the board are doing, trying to bring out the growth in Wilmington businesses. The value of the chamber is that you're here today, and unfortunately this room doesn't have standing room only. Because I'm sure more people could benefit if they have a business and they're looking to grow. Because if you sell a widget, here's the thing we used to say, if you're selling any widget and your competition is selling internationally a similar product, you're not going to be in business in 5 years if you don't do the same. And maybe that's a little harsh, but you know what? It's realistic in today's world. There's no just domestic business, it's all global. And to take it to a larger extent, just to keep me busy, I'm also a member, has anyone here heard of BEST, B-E-S-T, North Carolina? It's been in the paper a lot. If Jenny was here, she would would note it. BEST was founded by Ann Goodnight, the wife of the founder of SAS, by Walter McDowell, former head of Wachovia before it was merged, Bank of America CEO, Blue Cross Blue Shield, North Carolina. I'm one of 60 people that are on that organization. It was founded because they wanted to say, if we don't improve our schools in North Carolina, we're going to have a hard time attracting businesses to move to North Carolina because their kids will not want to go to our schools. And we're in a global world, and we need to do things more effectively to the business community and the educational community to tie them together. So our kids in the K-12 environment learn about the world so they don't fail tests like I just gave you. That they're also in tune taking languages. And they're recognizing the jobs today, not just tomorrow, today and tomorrow are global jobs. It's no more us and them, it's everybody together. So that combined is really where the value is. So BEST is moving ahead. That's why McCrory came out, maybe everyone's satisfied with it, but he made that statement about giving the teachers at least the minimum salary. It's totally inadequate. I'm also an advisor to Superintendent of Schools, June Atkinson, and I'm on this public school forum and the graduation task force. So I am totally involving education and global trade, cultural issues all together. It's very valuable as we move forward in North Carolina to include everything. And that's why I like this Foreign Trade Council, because we are going to include a variety of things that are not just superfluously on the perimeter. The port is an integral part, but they're kind of like on the outside on some issues. And the foreign trade zones were obviously on the outside. All these things have to be brought together. So as we move forward, what's the global situation in trade? Total trade is in the trillions in the United States. It's 2.7 trillion or something. But it's growing, but there's a lot of numbers. This is total trade, and this is real dollars, nominal dollars. That means it's really normalized to 2009. So it's you can play games with numbers to make them look good. You can see the diversion between the blue line and the yellowish-orange line. Yellow-orange is the nominal dollars. Real dollars are the blue. And you can see it's just creeping, but that's partially inflation, and partially the problem is that we haven't grown extensively in global trade. Jenny, we brought up a question. Are you familiar with BEST, North Carolina? BEST, North Carolina, the one that Ann Goodnight started? And Wachovia? I'm a member of that sixth committee, the former head of Wachovia, the CEO of Bank of America, Blue Cross Blue Shield. We're lobbying the governor's office and the General Assembly that education is an integral part of the global economy. If we don't improve education, we can't attract businesses because their kids will be going in inferior schools. And we are making some progress. So it's part of what I was saying about including everybody in the whole network in the community. So here's another one. Here is, on the left-hand side, it was cut off. This is 2012, 2014, January. And you can see this is the imports is the top curve in the green, exports is in the blue line there, and that thing called balance is actually an unbalance. It's a deficit. If you ran your household this way, you'd be in trouble. You'd be in trouble if you ran your household this way. But the United States has been running it since about 1970. It was the last year that we did not have a deficit. 1970. And there was a big dip when we were doing this in 89, 90. It was on track. The point is, there are somewhat 40 million small businesses in America. What percentage are doing exporting?
5.
1%. Is there growth opportunity there?
Yes.
Heck, of course it is. Of course it is. But just like we're here today, and you're going to learn a little bit more, then we'll walk outside and run into another business. And maybe they're running the corner candy store, and maybe they can't export. But there are a lot of companies in this area that have potential to export. They're not talking to the right people or asking the questions. And so that's what we're hoping today to do, is to stimulate some of that discussion. This chart, I could not find the same chart for 2013. It probably has not been done. And I'm too poor at graphics to be able to create one from the numbers. But if you look, the trade balance in 2012, the deficit was $540 billion. It's $500 billion. So, that's, in other words, we bought more from China and other countries than we sold. And that means people didn't have jobs. So that brings up a topic that you've all heard about before, called free trade. Ah, free trade. That means we're going to lose our job. Oh my gosh. Absolutely untrue. Absolutely untrue. And, the trouble that I remember, I mentioned I'm an oceanographer, right? Remember when the tsunami hit Indonesia? Remember when people died from the tsunami? I was watching television, I was just like pulling my hair out, listening to these reporters agonizingly trying to describe the tidal wave, which it's not, and how it's formed, and it's not. And I just couldn't stand it because they got it all wrong. Well, they got it all wrong on the trade issue, too. Okay? I saw an article. This article was in Star News. For a local newspaper, Star News, like on Mondays, is about that thick, But every once in a while, I find an article in there that's pretty darn good. But it's definitely not as good as the Wilmington Business Journal. When you see those articles that Jenny writes, those are well worth reading. I'll tell you. It says here, an interesting thing. I don't care what, I mentioned to you, full disclosure, okay? I worked for Ronald Reagan, right? In the Secretary of Commerce's office. I'm a Democrat. Did anyone ever ask me? No. Did anyone ever care? No. And that's the way it should be. I'm working with this administration. Are they Democrats or Republicans? They're all Republicans. Does it matter? No. It doesn't matter at all. This article says, why Democrats should back the president on free trade. And I just want to read the one little thing at the end here. And it talks about basically global leadership. It comes from our ability to project not just military might, but economic influence and the power of our ideas. Okay? Then it says, 20 years ago, a Democratic president made a powerful case for trade. The global economy, is a quote, the global economy with all of its promise and perils is now the central fact of life for hardworking Americans. It has enriched the lives of millions of Americans, but for too many, those same winds of change have worn away at the basis of their security. We cannot stop global change. We cannot repeal the international economic competition that is everywhere. We can only harness the energy to our benefit. Who said that? Bill Clinton. But more trade positive things happened under him. And because of it, there was a significant rise in jobs and the economy. When we turn our back, there's a whole thing about the TIPP and the TPP, and if you listen to like Ed on the radio on MSNBC, Ed is Mr. Union Man, and he goes screaming about, the things that's going to kill us. Just not true. It's just not true. If it's as long as it's the haves and the have-nots, and the us and them, it isn't going to work. But the way to open the doors and reduce trade barriers, and along the way get the benefits that we're seeking as a nation for workers' rights and other things like that, that will have to come in time. But the important thing is that if we extricate ourselves from global trade, we're opening ourselves up for failure. We have to be in there as a player. You have to be, they'll say you have to be at the table to play. And we have the infrastructure. Our government worldwide is set to do it. Our private sector is set to do it. We need to tweak the laws and rules and regulations so everyone has a level playing field. But then it's up to us and our ability to market and sell quality products. People come to the United States because we have quality products and services. Do I know that we have quality products and services? One other job I had with the Secretary of Commerce was another initiative that Reagan started, and you may have heard of the Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award. Started in 1989. I was the first executive director of that. So my experience in government was phenomenal for me personally, because I was able to launch the program on quality products in American business. And now they've gone into services, education, and all those other quality services. But I also then looked at the global aspects of how, as a nation, we get our products and services in the global marketplace. And I can say, no one can beat us if we put it together. Put those together, quality products and a level playing field. So we should be endorsing free trade because there are non-tariff barriers that are far worse than the tariff barriers. You know, putting a fee for you importing something that is also maybe grown locally is nothing compared to the ones where all of a sudden your stuff... Remember the yogurt that never got to Russia during the Olympics?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that kill you. It's not the extra 10%. Okay? So, resources for going global. Develop a marketing strategy. You got to have a plan. You have to have a plan. And then once you have the plan, you have to commit to going global. You can't just do it like I'm going to do it for a couple weeks and see if it works. But you can test the waters. How? By putting in that article in the Export USA. Test the waters. Methods and channels for export. You've got to explore all the opportunities. You know, things like an agent. The word agent in some countries means you might as well just marry your daughter off to the guy. Because you own him for life. You can't fire an agent. Bob's smiling because he knows because he was working in Latin America. And so there are countries that you want to make sure you get advice from the government or from associations like World Trade Association on what to do and what not to do. People who are members of our organization are helping companies in Wilmington who have come to our meetings and have actually seen that they need an international lawyer who can help them with specific problems. And they have succeeded because of it. Get an international attorney, get an international bank. Align yourself with all of these people who know what they're doing. Government resources, these are just like the alphabet soup things. North Carolina Department of Commerce is the top one there. SBA. In 2009, when the economy went to heck in a handbasket, the SBA had a temporary program, which is now, thank goodness, has become a permanent program, and it's called the 7A loan program. It used to be like, I don't know, don't count me, I'm not sure, it was $100,000, but now you can borrow $500,000. And that's one avenue. I'm not saying go to SBA. I find them extremely complicated, personally. Okay? Then there's U.S. Foreign Commercial Service, FCS. That's part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. That's in ITA, International Trade. But again, go to export.gov and you'll see everybody. U.S. Department of Commerce, U.S. Department of Agriculture, if you're in the agricultural business. We've got a great office in North Carolina, Ag. Peter Thornton, that name, if you're in the ag business, contact Peter Thornton in Raleigh. He's excellent. And also Kathy Ma, M.A. She's Peter's boss. Two of them are phenomenal. U.S. Trade Representative, what do they do? That's a person who negotiates like this TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership that they're doing. He's on the President's cabinet to be able to advise him on international, global trade issues. There's a total today, remember I said, how many people were listening, how many federal agencies were there when I was doing the Export Out program? 23. See the big government reduction? Somebody fell off, I don't even know who it is. 22 is about 22 men. Very difficult because they all are just like this chart. They're all like this chart. They don't talk to each other. They don't. And so we're sure we're making progress maybe on globalization, but not fast enough. And if you look at the monthly numbers that are published in the Star News or the Journal, don't pay too much attention because they make it sound like the imports were up or, you know, the trade deficit was reduced. And you look at the numbers and it was like somebody could have had a bad day and didn't ship something on time. And that threw the numbers off. We have to see a long-term trend that is rising. And you didn't see that in the data that I showed you, those graphs and charts. So, this is from CRS. This group doesn't tell lies. That's the Congressional Research Service. That is the think tank for the U.S. Congress. All the reports based on facts that the congressmen or senators, like it or not, they get the facts from the CRS. So here's where I was going to show you a quick movie, but I'm going to hold off for a few seconds because I want to proceed, so we should certainly have enough time. This was another video. We can give you the link. I don't find this as adequate as the one I have. The one I was going to show you was filmed in 1988. It was done as part of the Export Now program. It was done for a national PBS television special, and it was included in a big panel discussion of companies of how to get more firms going global. And I've yet to see, since 1988, the government to do a video that at least is comprehensive and is not just pounding their chest that we're the government, we're your sole answer for going global. We can no longer say that. You have to look at this world as a public-private partnership. It has to be more than government. The process of exporting. Get expert advice. How many times have I said that? And it's all over the place. Doug's office at the Cape Fear Community College is a great starting place. Small Business Center. He has got answers of probably better information than almost anybody in Wilmington. I'm not saying it because he's sitting here, because he does. How to start your business. Think of all the things you hadn't thought about. And then Doug will send you over to us to talk about if you're ready to take your product globally. And that's what we need, is more of that cross-communications. And the chamber, by having a meeting here, feeding people into the fray, so they grow, so they have more businesses, so there's more chamber members. Agent sales, distributor sales, trade shows. We'd all love to hop on a plane and go to Paris and go to a trade show, right? What we're planning to do is have our second annual Foreign Trade Promotion Council conference in October. And right now we're looking at it as having a reverse trade show. So we're going to have deals being done here, either at Cape Fear Community College or the Convention Center, depending on how many people we have. Trade show, panel discussions, interaction. So it's going to be almost like a trade expo and a conference, all wrapped up into one in the fall. And the date will be coming shortly about that. But we're going to have speakers from all over the world and buyers coming here to hear about North Carolina goods and services in various vertical markets. That's going to be an exciting event. But you don't have to hop on a plane right away and go travel. You can wait, hopefully. Do we have a convention center in Wilmington?
2.
Oh, and hotels and everything too. Indefensible, right? Indefensible. What can I say? But either way, we're going to fill those convention centers with all these foreigners coming over to buy our goods. So there's a variety of things also. Technology. These are items you need to consider. Licensing your technology. Avoid the word exclusive. Do not say that you weren't warned. Don't do exclusives. Joint ventures. Great way to get started sometimes. They put their in, you put your money in, whatever it is, and you can manage it. You can control it. And web-based sales. One of our, I was talking today to the head of eBay's 3.0 program. Anyone familiar with this? eBay's launching a national program, and hopefully they'll be on our board at the Foreign Trade Council on web-based sales through eBay. And they've got a wealth of information knowledge there. That's one way to also test the waters. Okay? Totally different.
That's Monday, right? You talking about Monday?
No.
October.
October. Here's an interesting thing. Let's see if we can do this. We can click. Where's the map? There we go. Let's see if this works. Looks like it's launching it. This is North Carolina in a snapshot. Okay, here we are. This is up through 2013 and 2010. If you look at the numbers across, you don't have a pointer or anything, do you, Scott? Let me just use a piece of paper here. If you look here, this is the total North Carolina exports and the share of the U.S. total market. You can see we've had a share of just pretty much the same, 1.9% of the total exports in the state is North Carolina. Okay, 1.6. So what's the largest export out of North Carolina? It's right there. Aircraft parts. If it wasn't for a GE, we would probably be about 40th on the list of exports. Okay? How, so in other words, what I'm trying to show you is also, is, I've switched to, is that over there? I've switched to, I switched to Apple, so I'm not used to the PC anymore. If you start going down that list, you know, medicines, obviously, tobacco's still up there, chemicals, big, cotton yarns and things like that. Uranium, it was a boom year, even though after Fukushima, still it was $500 million sold of processed uranium because of GE. So you can see how important GE plays in the global economy in the state of North Carolina. And let me see. And now let's look. Whoa! How do I go? Who's an expert here? Let me go back. Look on this thing. I can't do this from the side either. I'm not too good at that. Why does it? Can't we just? Can we just?
Is there a page down button?
Or hit the down arrow, don't take it down.
Yeah, maybe that'll just not. Yeah. Okay. There. Why didn't you say that earlier, Bob?
I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention, obviously.
Okay. Here's what I said earlier about countries. Here's your top countries. So you only have to do business with Canada and Mexico, don't you? That's all. I mean, that's the world, right? No, not true. And that's why, this is exactly why I brought Oman and Malaysia here a year ago, to be exposed to, they buy things from North Carolina, engine parts, biotechnology, they're investing and bringing, when you send a foreign student to school here at UNCW, is that an import or an export? Wrong. It's an export. They're spending money here. They're writing checks for tuition, cars, apartments, and they don't go cheap. Who is the oldest country? Here's a fact, I'm sure I haven't run into anybody that knows it. Which country was the first country that the United States ever did a trade agreement with? And what year? Come on, Jenny.
Saudi Arabia.
Oh, I would say France.
Good guess. It's Oman in 1833. They've never violated a trade agreement, and they've been a great partner in business. They're in the Middle East. Oman. And they're very proud of that. And they want to do more, and we don't even have them on the top 25 list. Wow. So one of my members in the World Trade Association met the ambassador and the senior commercial attaché at our meeting. In a month, they had set up what our government would normally have done. He went to Muscat, which is the capital of Oman, and he had a built room set up, and all the people came in, and he interviewed them. He's now making a fortune doing business with Oman. Wow. Wilmington guy. Success story. You can find that success story on our website. That particular one. So, if you look at these, we should really only be doing business with the top. Wrong. Because, you know, the thing is, those other countries are dying to do business with us. So, you know, should we only all go to China? Well, let's see, now what do I do here? I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Let's see if that, great, no business. So, why don't we just go there? Right? How big is China? Well, 1.4 billion and counting. It's going to grow more because now they eliminated that one-child law. So now, 20% of the world population. I mean, if you're a numbers person, you just strictly go by the numbers, right? 513 million internet users, and that number is already old because that was 2011. 7 trillion in buying power, second to the United States. Annual growth greater than 10%, except for last year, which was not a good year for them. Greater than 8% annual increase per capita income. And they're literate. I'll be darned. Right? Well, unique opportunities. China imported $2 trillion in goods in 2013. Holy cow. Lots of stuff, right? Urban population. So it looks like it's a great place to do business. Well, you know what? It may not be. It's not easy to start a business in China. And there's a lot of things that, require, and I can't think of the Chinese phrase. Does anyone speak Chinese? There's a phrase for basically, you got to get to know us. I can't think of it offhand. But there's a phrase that they use, and you have to work hard at it. You have to work really hard at it. And so there may be other opportunities. I mean, it took literally 30 days for our member of the World Trade Association to be doing business in Oman. They opened the doors for him and gave him royal treatment. And so there are opportunities. And so how do you find out? Ask the experts. Talk to people. If I don't know an answer, I'm going to give you to somebody else who does. And that's how you pull it all together. So there's plenty of ways to know your customers. Obviously, the website, this is Commercial News USA, which is now, they just changed their name to Export USA. And foreign trade zones. Has anyone ever heard of, see that third item down there? AKA Carnet. Have anyone heard of the term Carnet? And it's done by the USCIB, Center for International Business. Where are they located? It's one little dark and dingy office in downtown Manhattan. It's really freaky. You go in this office and say, what is this, like Moe and Larry Curly Shysters or something? It's just a little tiny office. But if you're traveling and you have a bunch of expensive equipment, you go into a trade show, or you're going to take over to show your potential agents, and you don't register it with that little dark, dingy office in Manhattan, when you get on a plane coming home, you're going to pay duty that you bought all that stuff in Europe or whatever.
Wow.
You didn't know that, did you?
Even in
It could have saved you a bunch of money.
Even in Canada.
Even in Canada.
Right.
A carnet. So little things like that. Do your homework. I mean, if you were going on a thing and brought a big booth and a lot of stuff, I would have told you to get that. Or you find out the hard way and pay. Okay, reverse trade missions. I talked about that already, how you come here. Trade associations in the chamber. You've got to be a member of organizations like the chamber. I can't stress enough how Connie, we connected and we said, look, what we're doing complements you and what you do complements us. Isn't that right, Scott?
That's right.
Matchmaker. Matchmaker is an interesting program. There's a variety of programs that we're going to show in the video right now where the government will match you with buyers at a trade show. So you go to two things. You go to a trade show and you have appointments set up called matchmakers. So you have to meet your U.S. Foreign Commercial Service embassy person, contact them in the country, and set up, a meeting. Skype, phone, various ways, and eventually travel. And that's one of the ways. Getting paid. Cash is king, no question about it, not realistic in today's world. Credit cards. But there's a variety of other ways to get paid. One of them is an exotic thing that we do called forfeiting. When I left the federal government, I went to work for a company that very few people heard about at the time, unless you were in the insurance industry or in the banking community. And this was in 1990. And it was a little company, Fortune 10 company called AIG. Totally different company than what you heard about during the crash, okay? But global, big time. Big time. They were in as many countries as there are U.S. embassies. And we did forfeiting. Billions of dollars of forfeiting. It's basically guaranteed financing for the buyer. So it helps the American sell to a buyer by offering the buyer terms of payment. Offering the buyer terms of payment, and it's non-recourse to you, the seller. So that you, as soon as you wave goodbye to the shipment on the boat, and it goes, if the boat sinks, it doesn't matter, you've already gotten paid. You get paid when the shipment leaves your shipping dock. Great way to do financing. 100% too. 100% also, 100% of what you pay. So you want to sell something for $1 million, you get $1 million. The reason I'm rushing through here is I want to show you the video. There's a variety of things that are in that book on exporting. All these bills of exchange, you just become familiar with it. I don't want you to become labored with these, because that's why you have bankers that can do all the paperwork. That's why you have freight forwarders. Or better than that, you have United Parcel Service, Federal Express, and the people at the port of Wilmington. And they can certainly help you with all of these information. This is the chart that shows the simplicity of forfeiting, but if anyone wants to talk about it afterwards, we can do that. And why would you use this? Because the real world is, what if you were shipping regularly to Greece prior to 2010? And then all of a sudden, what happened? Boom, no more business. Or Spain. And all the trouble that they had financially. So forfeiting eliminates all risk, political transfer, which is the currency devaluation, and a commercial risk that the company could have gone out of business. So if you want to learn more about it, you can go to the Hayes Escalante website. And there's a whole, all those diagrams are right there on our website. And you can learn about forfeiting as an alternative. Because you know why? Unfortunately, the reality is the banks here in Wilmington and banks, most of them in North Carolina, including the Charlotte banks, are not really involved in global trade finance. They don't want your global trade finance unless your name is GE. Seriously. There's a whole history behind that. And so you have a difficulty as a small business saying, my business is $3 million a year. I just got $1 million deal in Argentina. I'm so excited. I was working with the World Trade Association, and one thing led to another. And now I need $750,000 to build my thing, and I got $250,000 of profit in my widget that I'm shipping to Argentina. Can you loan me that $750,000? And oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, Argentina just changed their laws. So now when you ship a product to Argentina, the buyer cannot give you money for a minimum of 120 days. That's a law. Oh, okay. So let me get this straight now. I'm Wells Fargo, Wachovia, TD. You want $750,000. You're going to build this widget, put it on a boat, and send it to Argentina, and you make it paid in 120 days. Do you see the door over there?
Yeah. Hurry up.
Seriously. Who's going to give you that risk? They're going to want collateral for you, the same amount of money that you want to borrow. Reality is, there's alternatives. That's what, okay, is this a, this is a, I said it's a boutique. It's a boutique only in America. 1% of U.S. exports use forfeiting. How many, what's the most successful exporting country in Europe? Come on.
Germany?
Germany. How many exports? What's the percentage of German exports that use forfeiting? 50%. They know what they're doing. You ever go to a German trade show, have an opportunity, do it. It'll blow your mind. It's not Vegas. They do business and deals are cut right there on the floor. It's very exciting. And so forfeiting can become a marketing tool, a tool that helps you offer buying terms to your buyer. Financing terms, sorry. Financing terms to your buyer. Just think of the power of that. You're beating your competition. And you know what? If you're not doing it, the German company is. So that's reality. So, summing it up, go global, you got to commit to grow your business globally. You got to seek out the experts. Federal, state, local, private, whatever. To assist you in building that plan and getting your products known in the marketplace, testing the waters. Connect. Use the free services that are out there. Use export financing as a marketing tool when necessary. And the last 3 words, quality, quality, quality. You've got to be focused on delivering the best products, the best service on time to your customers. No different than if you're shipping produce from Birdlaw to Wilmington. So here's what I said in the agenda, if you read the agenda when you came. I was struggling with some of the words. I thought initially of using everything as don't, but that's like, too much. But 10 beliefs to avoid like the plague. Because you'll hear these. Don't export, it's too risky. This is the Letterman 10, Don't know where my products will sell. Well, I told you how to do that. Don't speak a foreign language. It doesn't matter. And I sell in the U.S. and I'm doing fine. Okay, just wait till the next recession. Good luck, Jack. Right? Don't know how to get information. Well, I think you got to start here, right? And come to the chamber. Find out more about what's going on. And I don't know how to get started. And traveling is too expensive. It is if you're wasting it. It's not if you're focusing it. Like I said, make that one trip and then bring them here. And don't trust shipping goods globally. Why not? That's why God invented insurance. and all those other things, and forfeiting. And I won't get paid, and you know that the numbers don't show that. The numbers don't show that at all. And so organizations like the Farm Trade Council are pulling together those bubbles. And North Carolina will grow from, we're stuck at 15th or 16th of all the 50 states in exporting. I made a challenge to the governor office, and they haven't taken it yet, but I'm saying he could say, the Farm Trade Council and what Sharon Decker's doing and what Richard Lindemuth is doing as the new guy running the public-private partnership, and all the organizations in North Carolina, public and private, working together, I make a challenge that we become the 12th largest or 13th largest exporting state before my first term is up. Put the challenge on the table. What's the downside for that? If we can do it, let's do it. But we cannot do it until these organizations are communicating and all the others that we can't even fit on the chart. And there's the challenge. So you guys have to join in and help Wilmington grow. Have Wilmington be a better place to live because we have sustainable jobs. We got the weather, except for today. We have the weather, we have the environment, we have the culture, we have all the elements, the port, we have a free trade zone modernization plan that's going to be here. All of these elements are ready and they're on the table. What we need to do is just execute. Thank you for coming. I've got a video if you want to watch it. It's kind of like opens your eyes to some things. Do you have any questions before? And then the ones who want to watch the video can stay. It's only a 15-minute video. Any questions?
What export market do you think has the most potential now?
A location or product?
Product.
It is not one. I mean, if you look at what we have in North Carolina, I think that biotechnology, because I'm involved, also have an environmental startup company, and biotech doesn't have enough private sector engagement yet, and biotech could be a big one, but I think we believe, someone told me don't ever believe your own press clippings, and I think we're probably not as great as we think we are, but we can climb that ladder if we pull pieces together. That industry is as fragmented as, the chart, the bubble chart too. Agriculture, there's still a lot of growth in the agriculture market that can be exported. And we're obviously doing good. I think we can save money by, for example, there's no reason for the State Department of Commerce to be traveling to the Paris Air Show. I think GE can do that on their own quite well. You don't need employees to do that. Now I said it, now Jenny's going to screw me in the press. Right? What?
I actually had the same. It just looks good.
Pardon?
It looked good in the pictures.
Are they still putting more money into the incubator programs with the universities?
The Entrepreneur Center is a positive step, but they're not dealing. What I would like to do, I've been talking to Jim Roberts, I'd like to connect them more to what Doug is doing at the center here. It's not just enough to have the center and grow people. When in your original plan, when you start a company as an entrepreneur, you have to have international as an aspect of it. And that's important. I met a guy yesterday, it was in the paper, I think it was in something the Journal wrote, about the company called Entitled Books.
Yeah.
I spoke with Batten yesterday. This guy, local kid, UNCW graduate, and he developed it's like an amalgam between Netflix and Amazon to basically have a subscription to download books to any device that you have. And so they last on your device for a period of time and then they go away. So it's a great idea. He already has competition from some other companies. I think that whole market of subscription, the Netflix and now with Comcast and whatever, that's going to evolve and change, and it's going to get into other areas of expertise. But there's a lot of things in North Carolina. But again, let me ask you, where's the plan? Where's the plan? Where's the North Carolina plan? I've been trying for 4 years to get North Carolina to declare a war on exports. Call it Export Now. I tried to get them to use that word. They would not use that word because what does it say? It calls for action and it calls for commitment to do something now. not next year, the next election, now. We gotta do things now. And that's why the Foreign Trade Council, World Trade, and the Chamber have joined forces to at least ensure that you're a member or come to our events, you're gonna hear the right things to help you, and we're there to help you be successful. And hopefully it'll be, and again, we can't do it, we got plenty of people to pass you in cooperation too.
Are you familiar with the marketing study that the marketing consultant just did for, I guess, the city and county?
Wasn't that the Chamber?
The Garner report?
Yeah.
Jay Garner report.
Did they address international trade in any way?
No, what's this guy's name?
Jay Garner.
I think, I'm not sure, but I know we invited him to be a speaker at the Foreign Trade Council in November, but he wanted to be paid for it. So we told him no. I thought you guys were paying for it, so why pay him twice? But there's a perfect example, to your point. How can you develop an economic plan without international? I mean, do we live on the moon? Is there not a river right there with a port? Is there not an airport here? You know, do we not have, as I said, trade zones being developed, which are creating the environment? When somebody asks, I'm thinking of moving my business to Wilmington, what is the attraction that they're offering? Are these comments being articulated by the half dozen tomorrow morning come to the power brokers? Half a dozen organizations involved in economic development. I'm not there. I'll be there in the audience. Is international represented? You're sponsoring the event. I wasn't invited to. All the organizations are public. They have public funding. So you know what I'm saying? There really needs to be the constant focus that the private sector can also assist. And the point is, everyone can take credit for it. Everybody can take credit for it. We don't have to be focused on, so-and-so organization was the one that brought, Titan to Wilmington. But other things that we have in this state can benefit. And it's jobs. It's the long-term survival. I mean, I moved here, so I am the person that came to Wilmington to find a new lifestyle and a new environment to succeed. And I'm going to do whatever it is until we do succeed. But I'd love to have everybody sort of rowing in the same direction. That would be helpful. It would be great. Any other questions?
Not a question, but my very first job out of college was for a Japanese trading company.
Ah.
So for years...
Mitsui or?
No, it was called Okura and Company. So I spent 10 years with them, and then I went to work for an American trading company doing business in the Middle East. And then eventually I left that area and came down here, and I was like, wow, what a difference. Because, yeah, international is not really grown down here. And same thing with the banker comment. Yeah, my husband and I had a manufacturing company, and we were doing exports as well. When people were like, you mean you're in Leland Industrial Park and you're exporting to Germany? And I'm like, yeah. Well, where'd you learn how to do that? So, I think it's a great service that you're offering, really.
Thank you. Right in Leland, Flow Sciences, you've all heard of them. They're trading with countries all over the world, doing a fantastic job. Fantastic job. And so if we can, like opening the office at Cape Fear of the U.S. Department of Commerce, bringing that focus and attention on Wilmington is all positive things. I'm very optimistic. I just think that we need to expedite things because even though things take time, we've got to move it faster because it's like one step forward and two steps back. We have to keep running forward to keep ourselves visible in the world marketplace. Great. Yes, sir. Last question.
One of my church members worked at Louisiana Pacific. Last year or the year before that, they cut back on the production. But the last 6 months or so, they got Well, last year they got a contract overseas lumber. Had increased production and pulled back people that were laid off and on kind of the port. They shipping lumber export now from Louisiana to see right here on Fort Worth.
The port has to stay competitive. This was a great article a couple weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, and it was talking about the cold storage facility. I have a client that ships 10 containers of sweet potatoes every week for export, and it goes to Charleston. And you know how many pork and chicken and other things are going? We're kicking ourselves, and so now at least Invest USA is building the facility here. If it comes to pass, that we're actually seeing the construction along the river here with all the future growth. If things start moving in that mode and keep moving, then we will have things working out better. But again, this has to be a top priority. I was telling Scott, I presented to the Wilmington Chamber last May. It was around May 1st or 2nd, and I have it on video if anyone wanted to see it. And I gave a 4-minute presentation as the head of the World Trade Association saying, since like the 1920s, there's always been the third week of May has been Global Trade Week. And no one in the state of North Carolina was declaring anything last May. So I was imploring the city to declare at least a day, or give it an hour, and call, sometime during May, World Trade Week to focus on it. It hasn't happened yet. So, with that, I want you to get out there and go global. And come Monday to the roadshow and learn more from people who will tell you about those countries.
If you want to go Monday, look at the forms you got. You have to pre-register.
Yes.
You have to get online and register.
Just go online, click. It takes 3 seconds.
You can't just walk in the door.
Through PayPal. Yeah, we have to know because there's 2 meals being served. There's being lunch, and there's reception and drinks in the evening. So it's a 12 to 6 o'clock event. So, Plum, you'll be there.
I may not be there, but I will get it in the dailies on Friday and let people know that they have to pre-register.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because it's not free.
Okay, great.
It's only $30.
I understand that.
And chamber members can go online and put the chamber code in that has been secretly given to Scott. And that code will give you a $5 discount. So there, that's why you joined the chamber. Well, that's great. If you want to watch the video, I'll click the button. What do we click?